I am your host, Paz Simpson, the happiness engineer, along with my co host, Mr. Paul Hoyt. Together, we are coming to address your commonly accepted beliefs, which lead to your unconscious behavioral biases. So, Paul, together, isn't it great to be curing racism?
It's great
How
to be great to be doing our part. I do believe there are people out there that are listening and they understand the importance of listening with a kind heart to other people. I love the tagline of our book: one conversation, one connection, one heart at a time. And it does starts with that conversation, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Is
Yes.
is the mindset, the attitude, the beliefs, the framework, the perspective behind conversations.
Yes, I think there is a misnomer, right? That everyone's listening at the same level, right? And I think that if we can actually shine a light on what it means, right, to listen, to love, we can help more people pass that threshold.
I think you're absolutely right. As we talked about when we were discussing what we're going to talk about today, there's really a spectrum at listening. And the lowest level, which is not really kind of listening at all, is that listening so you're able to do a counterpunch. It's like the boxer in the ring that's waiting for, his opponent to make a move so that they can set up the counterpunch, whether it be a jab or a right cross or a hook or whatever it happens to be. And that's listening to win the advantage. That's listening to win the fight. And that's the lowest level of listening that there is. It's really not caring at all about that other person other than, I'm going to win this damn fight no matter what.
And unfortunately, that is where most people learn to listen at,
Yeah.
right? Especially youth and kids that grew up in households where fighting was their love language, right? They
Mm.
learn how to listen to debate. They learn how to listen to argue. One of the things that I always uh, say for my one son, because me and my ex-wife had a period where we didn't get along very well, you know, um, that we didn't listen to love. We listened, for that competitive advantage.
Yeah.
And so he has a hard time listening to love, unlike his sister. Even though they were raised in the same household, the examples that they chose to take, right,
Mm.
allows them to understand differently. I think a lot of times as parents and community leaders, as influencers, right, we have to sometimes take responsibility over the lives that we've influenced and ask ourselves, did we teach them how to listen, to love, or did we keep them at that lower vibration level of listening?
I'm 100% with you. Or do we teach them we talked about a spectrum of listening. You got the listening to argue, the listening to win the fight. One level up from that, I think, is the debate, or I'm listening to respond. I really don't care about this other person. I care about winning a debate. In fact, debate is something they teach in high school and something they teach in college, and there are debate teams, and you learn how to listen to have and it's not. I'd say I wouldn't use the word argue, except in a very generic term, but it is that one level up. As I'm listening to debate you, I'm not listening with my heart. I'm listening with my head, and I only care about winning a point in the debate. And that's what's one level up. I appreciate that because it's not. You can debate something without being angry. You can debate something and still have, a little bit of comfort with the person that you're having a conversation with. So that's definitely a level up. But It's a few levels beyond or a few levels below what is the optimal way of listening, having a conversation with somebody else.
Yes. I think if we all can start to train ourselves, right, to listen with love, right, that um my your friend, my mentor who passed away, Bernie Dorman, used to always talking about not constructive criticism, but adding on, making this a plus. I don't need to criticize you, but I do need to add something, right? That may allow you to see light different, that may, allow you to move a little different so you don't make the same mistakes over and over again. But if we can learn, right, to listen with love, even that criticism, right, can become constructive criticism when it's meant in the right way, and even when it's not, because we can learn from the situation, right? By being able to listen with love, we build more understanding, we build more bridges, we allow for more people to embrace a situation, right? And when we learn to listen with love, we can also make adjustments, because no matter how perfect you may think you are, and I'm close to perfect with this smile, right? No matter how perfect you think you are, there is always room for improvement. So if we can listen with love, not only can we improve, we can make this place a better place.
I love it. So we got several different levels here. We got at the lowest level, we listen to win a fight. Up from that, we listen to be able to debate a topic or have a competitive edge. You just mentioned the one above that, which is we listen to collaborate. We listen to so we can work together, try to understand where this person is coming from so that we can have that connection. We're listening to connect, we're listening to collaborate in some way or other. And above that, I think are a couple of different levels. The next level up is listening with compassion and empathy, wanting to know, really understand not just what that person is thinking, but what they are feeling, and listening with empathy towards the feeling. And then the top level is listening with love, which is listening with the intention of how can I help this person? How can I be kind to this person? How can I nurture this person? I'm listening to them so I understand what their pain points are. I understand why they might feel threatened. I understand, why they're having any sort of darkness, and I love them. So I'm listening to know how I can best support and care for and nurture that other person. That's the ideal. That's when we cross into listening with our hearts.
Yes.
One conversation, one connection, then one heart at a time.
And a good friend of mine, I was blessed to see him recently, Mr. Guillermo Lopez,
Yeah.
once told me that to have love is to walk with suitcases of forgiveness.
Ooh, I like that line.
Right? I've never forgotten that. He's told me that line in my 20s and my 50s. I still repeat it. Right? Suitcases of forgiveness. I asked him one time, how did he and his wife remain married for so long? And he said, because true love has suitcases of forgiveness. Now, if we can listen with love, right? That matter of love, having that same manner of suitcases of forgiveness. Because someone may have said something horrible yesterday, right? They may have done something horrible yesterday. But today is a new day, right? They may have apologized. They may have learned, right, from that situation, right? And they may not have learned the entire lesson, but your suitcase of forgiveness, right, could allow them to learn more because you're meeting them in love. One thing we know is that we can never create love from hate, right? Hate only breeds more hate, right? Discontent only breeds more discontent. So if we can be, and what if you're not met with love? That doesn't matter, right? We get to be the love that we would love to receive. So in one room or another, you may not get what you're giving. You may not get the understanding that you're putting out, but that doesn't change who you are, right? The character of a good person, right, is being a good person even when others stink.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So I think that's the continuum that I'd invite everybody who listens to this podcast to think through. Are you listening with fear, which causes you to fight and debate? Or are you listening with love, which gives you an opportunity to collaborate and have compassion and help that other person? Are you walking into every conversation with a suitcase filled with love? Or are you just allowing yourself to give in to those natural fears and insecurities that everybody's got and put yourself in a position to be easily triggered? Because when you fill yourself with love, when you open up that suitcase of forgiveness and take a couple of things out for yourself, when you walk around, in a state of love, you have a lot more love to give to other people. And that's what we really want. We want people to have that connection, to have that conversation, to open up their hearts, so that they can learn to listen and then to act with love towards their fellow man.
Yes. Because when we are all walking in love, then the human race can be moving at an optimum rate. As long as I see you as nothing more than someone different instead of something instead of someone to learn from. If I only see your superficial differences, like my brother likes to say all of the time, I may miss the opportunity to see your greatness.
Amen to that. And what Paz is referring to is one of my favorite lines, which says, um, when we can learn to see through the superficial differences that divide us, we will discover the common values that unite us. That goes the other way around too. When we can focus on the common values that unite us, we will learn to see through those superficial differences that divide us. When
And
we
that,
learn to talk and act out of love, we'll be able to dispel all the forces of fear that would cause us to act otherwise.
and that's curing racism at its core, right? It doesn't take every one of us to say the same things. It takes every one of us to want to love, right? And to learn something new, right? You can learn something new from another culture, from another person, from another atmosphere if you decide to go in and listen with love.
Awesome. I love that. Well, you've inspired me to walk around with a suitcase of forgiveness and a few buckets full of love this afternoon for the rest of the day. For those of you listening, we hope we have inspired you to do the same thing, to make that your practice, to live with that suitcase of forgiveness and those buckets of love that you can share readily and easily and quickly with anyone and everyone that you meet. If you think a conversation with Paz or I, or a workshop for your company or organization would be a benefit to your organization to help others see through those superficial differences, to leverage the insights, the guidance that comes through all people, young and old and black and white and Asian and American and Israeli and Palestinian and whoever in your organization, if you think that there is an opportunity for people to learn to work together better to the benefit of your company and to the benefit of them personally, kindly reach out. Just go to curingracism.com. Send us a little shout out. We'll get back in touch with you. We'd love to support you and share our message of forgiveness and love and seeing through those superficial things that have a tendency to divide us.
Yes, and make sure you get a copy of Curing Racism, the book, so you always have a reference guide on how to see your fellow man as your brother or sister.
Love it. Love these conversations. Our Wednesday calls. Missed one last week because I was off doing other stuff. Um, I'm happy to have made the one today and for the next foreseeable weeks. We'll do it.
Yeah,
Thanks, Pat.
we were glad to have you. And last week you were working the World Cup. That was important stuff. That's curing racism in action, right?
Well,
All of
isn't
those
that
wonderful uh, people, so many different countries, races, sizes, colors, creeds. What you got to see the best about the World Cup and is that that every nationality has a tint of color to it,
yeah?
right? So there's no more. There's nothing that's too black, too white, too orange, right? We are all just human, and this World Cup was a great example because I never knew that there were really dark-skinned black men in Belgium. I learned that when they kicked our butts. Ugh. But
You make a really good point because I ran across just a couple of people there I want to share with you. One of them was this lovely lady from Jordan, dressed in a burqa, not a full face burqa, but dressed in a Muslim covering your head, white robe kind of thing. Just a beautiful, beautiful lady who brought her 8 week old baby, 8 week old baby to the World Cup and just melted my heart. Babies do that for me. When I
right.
see, I just go, "Oh my God, there's a little baby." I'm a big wimp when it comes to little tiny babies, and I really enjoyed that. And then there was these other 4 or 5 people from somewhere in Europe who were trying to close out the bar and wanted me to stay up all night and go drinking with them. They were just as friendly, but in a different sort of way. And
Amen.
I chose just to look at the baby and you wish the other people well.
Yes, yes, yes. But yes, I thank you for always being willing to step out there and show what current racism looks like in real world applications. So, you didn't miss last week. You are applying the lessons that we talk about in real world applications. So the world missed you last week.
Love it. Love you, Paz. Love these
Love you
Wednesday
too.
conversations. Reach out, get in a hold of us. We'd love to talk.